Welcome to episode 44 of America in Crisis, Breaking the Cycle of Addiction. My name is David Hunt, and I am your host. Please set your DVRs to record. This show could save your child's life. According to the CDC, in 2024, there were 1,596 overdose deaths in Massachusetts. Now, this was down from 2023 by 754 deaths. That's 33% less. That's great, but there's still a lot more work to be done. Today's guest is David Selden from the Square Medical Group. David is a licensed independent clinical social worker and has over 40 years experience in the field of behavioral health. He is trained as a clinician, but has also served as supervisor, executive level manager, and consultant to local and national programs, providing mental health, substance use, and co-occurring disorder treatment services to teens, adults. In addition to his responsibilities at Square Medical Group, he also maintains a private clinical and consulting practice in Salem, Massachusetts, and is adjunct faculty at Salem State University in the Department of Counseling Psychology. David, welcome to my show.
Thanks for having me, David.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming today. Before we begin today's show, we will cover both substance use and mental illness, as these can go hand in hand. It is important that people experiencing mental illness know that help is out there and is easily available. David, what can you tell us about the Square Medical Group, and what makes Square different from the many other programs that are available?
Square's been in the business of behavioral health care since 2008, and a couple of things that make us different is that, for one, we have a comprehensive service system. We don't just provide one type of service. Recovery from substance use and mental health disorders is not linear. It's very often 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, and up and down, back and forth. We're trying to build a system that accommodates all of that so that people can move freely between the different programs without barriers.
And how long have you been with Square?
I've been with Square about 7 years now.
And what is your role at Square?
I'm the clinical director. So I have direct responsibility for outpatient services, including our intensive outpatient and partial hospitalization programs, and then have sort of consulting oversight to the other programs, including our residential programs.
Now, you have multiple facilities. Could you share with our viewers where they are?
Yeah. We have outpatient clinics in Woburn, Newton, and Weymouth, and we have residential programs operating in Waltham and about to open one in Weymouth for women. We also opened one a few months ago in Framingham for men. We have a harm reduction residential program in Quincy and a sober house also in Quincy.
Now let's start with Woburn. What happens there? We should have a couple of pictures of the interior of Woburn.
Woburn is one of our outpatient sites. We provide individual therapy there. We also can provide medication of all types, both what they call MAT, which is more medications for substance use disorders, as well as psychiatric disorders. And we also do transcranial magnetic stimulation there, which is a evidence-based treatment for treatment-resistant depression.
Nice. I see a couple of pictures of our other facilities. Do we have a couple of shots of the interior of Woburn?
We should. Maybe they'll show up. That's our Framingham house that opened a few months ago. That's what they call a co-occurring enhanced residential program for men, 24 beds for men. We also, at Woburn, also provide an on-site intensive outpatient and partial hospitalization program.
Okay, what is telehealth and in-person?
Well, telehealth was developing for a bunch of years until COVID hit, and then everybody had to revert to telehealth and meet with their therapists or engage in their treatment programs over Zoom, since we were all quarantined at home. We found that a lot of people prefer that, and it provides an opportunity for people who have transportation difficulties or other issues that keep them homebound, that they can still connect with their treatment program or their therapist.
I realize how beneficial that is. I'm on a couple of committees and trying to get people in there to drive. We used to go to Framingham and Natick for meetings in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm in Woburn.
Yeah.
And you drive out there for stuff like that. And now you get just a much more group that's interested in getting their treatment rather than saying, oh, I got to drive all the way out to somewhere else. So that's highly beneficial.
Right.
And for people that like to travel. Okay. Now you have residential treatment areas. Which facilities are residential?
Well, as I said, we have a house in Waltham, which is 16 beds for men. It's called a co-occurring enhanced residential program. It's a very intense treatment program within the residence. And then we recently opened the summer house in Framingham. That's the picture on the screen there is the Waltham house. We opened the summer house in Framingham a few months ago. That's bigger. It's 24 beds for men, also co-occurring enhanced. And then we'll be opening a co-occurring enhanced residential program for women in Weymouth later, probably within a month or two. And then we have plans to open another house in Springfield, reaching out west there later this year. There'll be 24 beds for men. We have what we call low threshold residential program in Quincy, and our sober house also in Quincy.
Okay, we're going to get back to some of these later. Let's start with the types of treatments. What is individual therapy, or known in your industry as CBT?
So individual therapy is you meet with a therapist one-on-one, and as we mentioned, you can do that either virtually over Zoom, secure Zoom, or in person. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's a specific technique of therapy that's become quite popular. A lot of our programming and a lot of our treatment is based on CBT, but there is also other types of treatment techniques that we use based on what the person needs.
Why might somebody want to be individual versus with a group? Is it like a privacy issue? Are they just embarrassed?
Well, you can do things in individual therapy that you wouldn't necessarily do in group therapy and vice versa. That the individual therapy is for issues that you probably don't want to bring up in a group. They may be too intensive, they may be triggering to other members of the group, so you bring that to individual therapy. But what everybody's discovered over the years is that you can get an awful lot done in group therapy that you can't do in individual because you've just got more people in the room providing you with support and encouragement.
Now, how does that all differ from group therapy again? What is the basic reason? That people just don't want to be in a room with a bunch of people? Because, I mean, if it's mental illness, they might just not want to share.
Sometimes people are reluctant to share with other people, and so we can accommodate that with individual therapy. But also, there are certain types of diagnoses and certain types of disorders that are treated more effectively with group therapy than individual therapy, substance use being one of them.
So then, like half and half, basically, what people prefer. Now you have medication management. What if I need more? What is the intensive outpatient if the medication doesn't work? So let's start with the medication therapy. Okay. Then we'll talk about outpatient in a minute.
So we have a strong core of very knowledgeable prescribers, which is also a differentiator between us and some of the other programs out there. We have over a dozen very experienced nurse practitioners and psychiatrists who are well-versed in providing treatment for people with mental health and substance use disorders and what we now call co-occurring disorders, which used to be called dual diagnosis. And they can provide medications for substance use disorders as well as psychiatric disorders.
Now these for outpatient or inpatient, do they have to be in your facility, all residential, or can they come in during treatment?
Well, if they're an outpatient treatment, if they're seeing an individual therapist or coming to one of our standalone groups, they can also see one of our prescribers and get medication that way. If they're in one of our co-occurring enhanced residential programs, we have designated prescribers attached to each house who will handle the medications for somebody. But what happens sometimes is people will come to us and they say, I have a psychiatrist already prescribing my medications. I just need a therapist, or I need to come to your group program, and we can accommodate that.
That's great. So there's options for everybody.
Yeah.
Now, what is partial hospitalization?
So partial hospitalization is some of the more intensive treatment that can be provided in the community. It's a group program It is 5 days a week and about 5 hours a day, and you go through a series of groups designed specifically to address the issues that you're struggling with. It's used as a step down, what we call a step down from a hospital. If you've been in a hospital for a certain period of time, you've been in 24/7 care. It's kind of hard to go from that to just 1 hour a week with an individual therapist. So the partial hospitalization program can provide 5 hours a day, 5 days a week of group and individual programming to help you step down from the inpatient unit. It can also go in the other direction, that if you're seeing an individual therapist and having difficulties, rather than go right into the hospital, you can try a partial program for a few weeks to see if that can help you stabilize.
There's no one size fits all.
Exactly.
Now, what is the residency treatment and where is it located? Let's start with Waltham.
Okay. So Waltham is our River House. That was the first residential program we opened a few years ago. 16 beds for men. That's the picture of the front door. 16 beds for men, and it's essentially a partial hospitalization program embedded in a residential program. So while people are there, they get obviously a bed, and they eat well. We provide a good food budget for them. River House also has a nice big grassy backyard and big shade trees, and the Charles River runs through the backyard. So it's a very pleasant place to be, but it's also can provide very intense treatment 7 days a week.
So can you elaborate a little bit on Waltham? I go in the front door, I've been accepted. What would I be doing during the day? How do you have me structured?
Well, people get up and usually take care of the basic stuff, get a shower, brush your teeth, make their bed. Then most of the people in the house are on prescription medications, so they go to the medication room and get their medications. We then, there's breakfast, and then we start with a community meeting where everybody in the house, all the staff meet together to go over some of the things that are going on in the house, make sure that things are running well, to welcome new people who've moved in maybe the day before, or say goodbye to people who are going to be leaving at the end of the day. You then go through a series of groups throughout the day that are designed to address the co-occurring disorder you're working with. There's lots of breaks, lots of opportunities. It isn't as though you're sitting in an office for 8 hours. There's a lot of back and forth. We also, some of the group programming, we've partnered with the Phoenix Recovery Gym over in the South End, and we have a van. We take everybody over to the Phoenix Gym twice a week because exercise is an important part of recovery.
They were my initial guest on the show. They were number one.
Good group.
Very nice people.
Yeah.
Now, we've just dealt with Waltham. You have Framingham, you just opened it.
Yep.
What's happening in Framingham?
Framingham is essentially doing the same thing that Waltham is doing. It's again a co-occurring enhanced residential program, just a little bit bigger. It's 24 beds. That's the Framingham house.
Framingham one.
Yep, 24 beds rather than 16 in Waltham, and it's the same programming. And we're replicating that program because it works. It's been proven to work. The Bureau of Substance Abuse Services likes the program. They, in fact, asked us to go out to Springfield because they said they need help out there, which is where we're probably going to jump to later this year.
Well, it's good you're getting a reputation for making it work.
Yeah.
Now, what treatments are given at Weymouth other than, can you just elaborate a little bit?
In Weymouth?
Yeah.
Well, Weymouth, Woburn, and Newton are our 3 outpatient sites. And so the usual individual therapy, medications, transcranial magnetic stimulation. The Weymouth house that we're going to be opening, there's a picture there somewhere, it will be our first women's house, 24 beds for women, and that is a brand new building built from the ground up, and working with our contracted architects. That should be opening in another few weeks, actually.
Now, the 2 residencies we just talked about, is that men, women, co-ed?
The Waltham house is men, the Framingham house is men, the Weymouth house is going to be women, and the house in Springfield will be men.
Are they allowed guests once they're in there?
They are. Usually the first few weeks they're not, because we ask them just to focus on adjusting to the house and the program. And there is a series of levels that our residents can go through as they show that they're able to engage in the program and that they're able to maintain their recovery in order to stay there. We do drug testing in all of these houses.
Is there any type of recreational stuff that's organized there, or are they on their own?
Oh yeah, especially in Waltham at River House with that big backyard. We've had a volleyball net out there, we've had cornhole. As I mentioned, the River House people go to the Phoenix Recovery Gym twice a week. I know that they're working on figuring out how to access something like that in Framingham. Exercise is a big important part of recovery, so we work on getting that involved with everybody in all the houses.
What types of meals could they expect? I mean, it's all about the food, let's face it. For people that know me, it's all about the food. I mean, is it good food? Is it cafeteria food? Is it something they're going to enjoy? And do they even participate in some place that have you help cook the stuff?
So we don't have chefs or janitors in any of these houses. So each resident is expected to participate in helping to keep the place clean and helping to cook dinners. We provide a lot of food. There's a what they call supermarket sweep once a week, where we put everyone in the van and take them to the local supermarket, and they get to pick their own foods. They have their designated cupboards so that they can pick their favorite cereal or their favorite snacks. And then part of what goes on in the community meeting every morning is meal planning. Is we plan out what dinners people want to cook and what people know how to cook. We sometimes get people coming in who say, you know, I'm really good at cooking, you know, spaghetti and meatballs. I want to cook that for everybody. So we provide that opportunity. It's also an opportunity for people to learn these skills. There are a fair number of people coming through that really don't know how to keep a house clean and don't know how to cook. And these are important skills if you're going to go back out there and be a good roommate or a good tenant that you need to know how to do. So we help you learn these things and practice them.
And before we jump too far ahead of ourselves, who determines how long they stay in your residency program?
Well, that's a combination of the clinicians determining how long someone needs to stay and the insurance. So we have an open back and forth with the insurance companies, the health insurance companies, to get what's called authorizations for longer stay. Typically, people can stay in the residential programs about 6 to 9 months.
Oh, wow, okay. So there's no set thing. I don't walk in the door and say, how long are you going to keep me? It could be 30, 60, 90 days, whatever.
Yeah. We try to customize it to what the person actually needs.
Well, that is important.
Yeah.
At least they know up front what they're getting.
Right.
Now, you mentioned an outpatient in Newton. Where is that located? And what other outpatient offices do you have?
So the Newton office is our newest office because it was originally just down the street in Watertown on Watertown Street. And it's upstairs from a bank on the corner. And that provides the individual therapy, medication, drug testing, and TMS, as I mentioned, same as the Woburn site and the Weymouth site.
Very interesting. And what is neuropsychology?
Neuropsychology in our offices is we have a very experienced psychologist who specializes in neuropsychology. Sometimes people need to go through a specific battery of psychological tests in order to determine what type of medication they need. And it's specifically an issue with people who are struggling with stimulant abuse. The medications that are prescribed for instance, for ADHD are stimulants. And sometimes people can end up abusing them. So when we have a new client come in and say, I need a prescription for a stimulant, if they need to be tested for a neuropsychological disorder like ADHD, we'll have them meet with our neuropsychologist and get tested.
Very nice. I mean, you guys are on the cutting edge of things. I'm going to throw a term you know, TMS, for our viewers, transcranial magnetic stimulation. Could you please explain to our viewers what are those?
I'll try, because it was new to me when I joined Square. It has to do with the use of magnets to, I believe, change the electrical impulses that are going on in someone's brain. And it is an evidence-based, proven treatment for treatment-resistant depression. So very often people who experience depression are tried on a number of different antidepressant medications, and sometimes they just don't work. So after trying, I believe, 2 or 3, if they don't work, they can be eligible for TMS. And TMS, I believe, has an effectiveness rate of about 80%. So
Wow.
it tends to work, and it has minimal side effects, which is another real positive for TMS. People sometimes complain of mild headaches is the worst of the side effects.
Now, is that treatment TMS, is it partial hospitalization, residency, or is that outpatient?
No, it's outpatient. People come in once a day, sit for about an hour with it's a helmet they put on their head, and it has the magnets in it, and they watch a video screen. They can watch TV or watch a movie while the machine does what it's supposed to do, and I believe it's about an hour each treatment.
Looks something like the cone of silence.
Sort of, yeah.
Kids, you have no idea what we're talking about. Ask your parents. So you're expanding to get help where it's needed. What can you tell us about Springfield? That's going to be your new baby.
Yeah, well, we understand that. I think people are well aware that Springfield and the Springfield area has struggled with substance use issues, among other things. And because it's further away from the big teaching hospitals that we have here in Boston, it doesn't have a wealth of professionals who can pitch in and help. So the Bureau of Substance Use Services said to us, you know, your co-occurring enhanced model seems to work pretty well. We could use that out in Springfield. So we have purchased this house on a hill in Springfield.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it was a mansion built around the late 1800s, early 1900s, for one of the presidents of one of the insurance companies that used to be based out there. We also, at the same time, as part of the same property, down the hill, which doesn't show up in the picture, is another building that we will be opening an outpatient clinic there and providing outpatient services, IOP and PHP.
That's great to hit the areas that need the treatment the most.
Yeah.
You're finding problem areas. Now, since you've got a mansion, how do you get paid for all of this?
Most of our clients are reimbursed through Mass Health, the Medicaid program in Massachusetts. And this is also something that differentiates us from a lot of the other organizations out there. We're committed to the Mass Health population.
Okay.
So close to 70% of the people we see, and that's about 5,000 people a year, are Mass Health recipients.
That's awesome. It's the people that need it the most, the people that can't afford it, and by doing Mass Health.
Yeah,
I know
and
a lot of companies won't take it.
A lot of companies don't take Mass Health, and then the rest of the 30 or so percent are reimbursed through the private insurance companies.
Okay, I'm going to turn the mic over to you. You've got an open mic. Don't worry, we'll edit you out.
Okay.
What else would you like to say? I've asked you a lot of questions. What would you like to share with our viewers? Talk about like 5 minutes about the programs, anything I haven't brought up. I'm sure there's a lot that you do. What do you want our viewers to know about your company?
Well, for one, a couple of things that differentiate us is we're a family-owned business.
Oh, okay.
We're not owned by an investment group or a board. It's a family-owned business. Our founder, who's also our current medical director, Dr. Natalie Lender, took over a group practice about 2008 and then grew it out. Our CEO, Jeff Gershman, is Natalie's son. He had joined the company shortly thereafter, and together they've been leading the company to expand out and provide the services that we do. One of the other things that differentiates us is that we work very hard at customizing all of the treatment we provide, and I know this is it's become a buzzword in the industry, is individualized treatment. But what we've learned is that a lot of the group programs, a lot of the IOP and PHP programs are manualized. The group leader is handed a manual and is told to just follow what's in the manual. We have manuals, and we have lots and lots of resources. We have a library of resources for over 100 groups that we can plug in where needed. But what we do when we run a group in an IOP or PHP program is we sort of read the room each day. And then at the end of the day, before we do programming for the next day, we take a look at where the group's at and what they might need the next day, so that we'll pull things from our library that we think, oh, here's where the group's at right now. They'll probably be really interested in this tomorrow, so let's do that. The other thing that's really interesting about Square is that we are a woman-owned, woman-driven business. Out of the, I believe, 8 people on the executive management team, 6 of them are women. And I think that differentiates us in a lot of ways from a lot of the other programs that are out there.
So you're not cookie cutter?
Definitely not. And you can't be, because everybody's recovery is different. And we know that, and we work toward that. A couple other things that come to mind.
Yeah, please share.
Harm reduction, again, has become a buzzword for a lot of people. We've been doing harm reduction programming for many years. If someone relapses, we don't immediately kick them out of our program.
Okay.
We look at it as a learning opportunity, and we'll sit down with the person and say, do you want to keep working on this? And if you do, let's figure out what happened. Let's figure out what we can do different going forward, so you can keep building your recovery stronger and stronger. And that's really important. We've also recognized that a lot of the people coming in with co-occurring disorders are survivors of some sort of trauma, very often childhood trauma.
Okay.
And that then presents a series of challenges that a lot of people don't always understand. So all of our staff are trained and pretty experienced in providing what's called trauma-informed care. And our entire organization is set up to manage that, as well as the offices and the residences.
No, that's awesome. It all originates from somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I said at the beginning of the show, a lot of the mental illness and the substance abuse go hand in hand.
Yes, it does.
There's people take it, they're depressed, something goes wrong, they try to self-medicate, start with the alcohol, go to the marijuana because now it's legal, and then they move themselves up the food chain to a stronger drug, and then, okay, I'm in over my head.
That's a pretty typical story, yes. And in recognizing that you really can't separate out the mental health part from the substance use part. It's really all integrated, and you've got to have an integrated approach, which is what we do.
Very nice. Well, since we're approaching our closing, first I'd like to present you. Thank you so much for appearing. Hold up, it's going to show on the screen.
Thank you very much, David.
You're welcome. We're going to be feeding it in here anyway, don't worry.
Okay.
But, okay, a couple of updates before I go into my closing. New events coming up. The last Thursday evening at 6 to 6:30ish to arrive, once again, is Vigil on the Common. This is put on by Carmen Lucchese of Justin's Voice. Justin Lucchese was a young man who unfortunately met a demise a little bit too early based on substance issues. And his father, Carmen, started the group Justin's Voice. I've known them for several years. They do a tremendous job. So come out to Woburn at the Common it's always going to be the last Thursday evening. Starts about 6 o'clock, 6:30ish on the Common. They'll have a couple of speeches by people that have lost loved ones, a couple of words of encouraging. And I will be there myself once again. I'll be giving out some xylazine test kits, some fentanyl test kits, and some information. This way here you can bring something home. Not that heroin is safe, but it makes it a little bit safer knowing that it hasn't been tainted with some type of poison. If you want, we can throw a photo up there. We have a shot of a couple years ago when I was on the Common giving it out. Secondly, we just did the Live Free Fun Run in Woburn. This was this Sunday. And in fact, Dave, you were one of our guests there. I met him there. It was a coincidence, like, oh, you're the guy coming on my show. But anyway, that was put on by Mackenzie Diesick, who was one of our past guests a couple of shows ago, that we got a photo of. We're going to show later. And it was quite interesting. I gave out over 1,000 test kits, gave out some key rings for CPR, so you don't have to put your mouth on somebody that is overdosing or not breathing. And I mean, I found it very interesting. There were about 20 people there that were on display. The fun run was interesting. It was a nice little road race. So Mackenzie did a beautiful job out there. I look forward to working with you again next year on it. I'm sure most of the vendors are going to come back. I mean, they just had so much to offer, and I'd say about 600-700 people, if not more, went through the area to see what we had to offer. So with that, down to our closing. I'd like to thank our guest, David Selden, for appearing today. As always, thank you for watching. Please share this program with your social media friends. If you or someone you know is suffering from a substance abuse disorder, contact the Massachusetts Substance Use Helpline at 1-800-327-5050. If you are thinking about suicide, you can speak to a specialist at their new number, 988. If you're having a mental illness issue, you can contact the folks over at Central Middlesex NAMI. Their phone number is 781-982-3318, who are also a guest on our show. This show can be seen on a rotating basis on Woburn Public Media stations and on demand at their website and on YouTube. As always, thank you to the staff of Woburn Public Media Center for making this possible. Please enjoy our closing theme, Rise Above the Noise by Fireheart, through the credits for important contact information. So please watch all the way through the credits. There's some information out there you might want to take down and look at. For America in Crisis, Breaking the Cycle of Addiction, my name is David Hunt. Thank you for watching, and I have a whole slew of new shows coming up shortly. Again, thank you. Be safe.
Is what we bear. The whispers that I hear behind my back are those who never lost a child, a friend, so they lack a sense of loss, a peace that's gone with no return. Above the noise is how we cope, above the noise is how we learn. The most important things in life I found comes deep within the heart, the purest sound of those who won the fight. Now they found a life is true, a life so rich above the ground. We are people who care. Listen to the sound. Rise above the noise in the air. The sound not heard is what we bear. We are people who care. Listen to the sound. Rise above the noise in the air. The sound not heard is what we bear. The sound not heard